Friends, the time has come. I'm selling my dream bike. So for a little bit of context, to find out why I bought this bike in the first place, let's go right back to the start. Now, a couple of years ago, I did my research. I sorted out the finances and I purchased this bike. And I had some really high ambitions for this thing because this bike can do it all. Oh my God, sounds like thunder. This bike was the do-it-all bike, the be-all, end-all bike for me. I had high ambitions when I bought it to learn to ride off-road on it. And not only that, it would also be my commuter bike into town. It would be the bike that I mod to look beautiful, which I'm happy to say I have, and I'm super happy with how it is. And it would also be a bike that I'd take on long distance rides. I'd load it up with luggage, I'd load it up with my wingman of the road tent, I'd go camping over the weekend. And it does a lot of those things really well. It's incredible in town. The riding position is super high. You can actually see over cars in front of you. Because of the height of the seat, it tends to attract taller riders. So I'm quite tall, I'm 6'3". I'm super comfortable on this bike, and this bike lets me stretch out. The seating position is very neutral and comfortable, and it's just a lovely place to be. It commutes really well. Big 21-inch wheel, you still get good turning because you've got wide bars. You can move your weight around well. It doesn't feel sluggish at all. It's absolutely fantastic, and it ticked so many boxes for me. And the only one left to be ticked was the off-road element. It was, can I use this as a tool to get my bearings and, you know, really pick up the basics of riding off-road? And a lot of you who've done it before will be laughing at me because that's a stupid thing to ask of this bike. And I thought it could do it. But the reality is, it's a 230 kilo bike. A lot of the weight is quite high up because of its height. And it's a beast. It's got 1200cc. It's really torquey, and the brakes are like super sharp. So really, actually, I've realized very quickly after taking it off-road that it wasn't the right bike for me. Doing a U-turn, I'm on tippy toes. It's quite precarious, and when you're in some sticky mud or undulating terrain, you want to be lower down. You want to have good connection with the ground so you can chuck your feet out and stabilize if you need to at much slower speeds. Kind of do the penguin waddle along. Oh, it's so good. So I found quite quickly, unfortunately, very sadly, this was not going to be the machine that would teach me how to ride off-road. Of course, now now I've had a bit more experience on smaller, lighter bikes. I really was a fool for thinking I'd be able to do it on this. But because it was a scrambler, because, you know, the advertising and all the content I was consuming showed it ripping up the Baja and, you know, on trails and tracks, I believe that was easily achievable for me. In hindsight, of course, what a numpty. It's pro riders with a bike they don't own, going full send with proper knobbly tyres, and they're giving it 100% with absolutely no fear of breaking anything. And unfortunately, that's not me. Now, when I bought this bike, this was the be-all end-all bike. I didn't foresee needing another one in the garage. And it's a premium bike. The value is quite high. It's much higher than anything else I've ever owned. So the insurance and monthly payments I was making on it were manageable. It was my whole budget for bikes. There was no capacity to increase, to add another bike to the stable or anything like that. And then November came. This tragic tale comes in two parts. So November came around and my insurance was up for renewal. Of course, I live on the outskirts of London. I commute in and out of central London regularly. I use it for work, for shoots, and I am a good boy, and I declared all of those things. So my premium was higher than other bikes, it's higher than my car, but I expected it, you know, it's a nice, desirable motorcycle in London. There's a good chance it's going to be nicked. My renewal came, and actually, if I'm being accurate, my renewal didn't ever come because they told me, "Dear Mr. Chamberlain, we can no longer insure your vehicle." And I was like, bit of a shock. I asked them why, they didn't give me a reason, they just said they can't insure the vehicle anymore. I thought, okay, that's strange, I'll go compare. My insurance went from £650 a year, which is a lot for me, to £1,450 a year. Same bike, nothing's changed, same mods, everything. Almost 1,500 quid a year. I could not believe it. So that stung. It really stung. And unfortunately, at that stage, I decided this can't continue anymore. There's no way I can sustain this cost. This bike is costing me, effectively, with the payments on it as well, it was costing me 2, you know, nice new cars. And that was cheeky, sorry. And no bueno. So since then, because they didn't sell the bike straight away, for the most part this bike has been stored up in Norfolk where my parents live, and I got the premium down to £350 a year, which is still a lot of money for a bike. So I've only had it down when I needed it, but that's just such a faff and such a waste of a brilliant machine.
Now, if you remember, when I bought this bike, I had all the intentions of learning to ride off-road with it. Well, in January this year, I got my first opportunity to do just that, and I had my first proper off-road day. And I actually made a video about my experience, and I'll link it up in the corner of this video here. Long story short, I broke a few things. It wasn't a particularly extreme day, I was taking it very easy, but things were broken, and it cost me a heck of a lot of money to repair. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm fully aware that this is a premium bike and the parts are very well made, built to last, but nothing quite prepared me for how much it actually costs to replace some of the parts on here. I broke the radiator and had a pretty catastrophic coolant leak. I got it home and I replaced the radiator myself that week. It sucked, it was hard to work on, but I got it done in the name of saving money. The cost of the part, $365, including new coolant. But when replacing the radiator, I found that the fan was broken at the mount, and it sits behind here and it turns on when the engine gets hot. This wasn't due to me dropping the bike, it was actually completely corroded away. And by the time I'd taken the radiator off, changed the hoses, changed the coolant, put the radiator back on, spent 6 hours of my time, I didn't quite fancy doing it all again. So I took it into the dealer, they had it for the day, they did a cracking job, put it all back together, and it's running sweet now with a clean bill of health. But the cost? To replace the fan, including labour, £460. So I'm over £800 into repairs for one day out off-road. You can see the problem here.
And that was that. That was the moment I decided to sell this bike, my dream bike, the dream machine that I'd moved hell and high water to achieve buying. And I've decided to refine things, to recalibrate my bike life, to be more purposeful, and sell this because I just can't afford it. And it breaks my heart, to be honest with you. It really does. But I just can't justify it anymore.
And I'm okay with that, because ultimately it's being on two wheels that I love. I've got my DRZ for all the enduro, learning off-road stuff. And the reality is I'll find another bike. I'll find a road-focused bike that I can use as my daily, that will bring me the same amount of joy, the same feeling of freedom that this Scrambler does, and one that just won't cost me as much money. So with that, say goodbye to the Scrambler 1200. This is probably the last time you'll see it. And for the next episode, we're gonna go pick up my new bike, which I'm being totally honest, I don't actually know what it is yet. So if you're not already, do hit subscribe to find out what I end up on. And if you've got any recommendations of what I should be riding, let me know in the comments below. And hit the subscribe button if you're not already to keep up to date with what's going on here at Willie's Wheels. In the meantime, I'll see you soon. Stay safe. Peace. Thanks for watching.